Denise Roach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the last week or so, the difference between how the government treats the richest and the poorest in our country has never been clearer. On the one hand, we have confirmation yesterday that the government ignored Crown law advice to change the industrial relations law of this country to advantage Warner Brothers during the making of The Hobbit. This is the film that also attracted over $100 million in subsidies from New Zealand taxpayers, and which so far has taken over $1 billion in box office receipts worldwide. They have dressed up these law changes and their dodgy dealings as something that deserves an award, maybe an Oscar, a winner. They think they are the winners of the Oscar for nationalism, but they're not. They're not Oscar winners. Because when you defrock what they've done, their actions turn out to be a treacherous betrayal of vulnerable workers on behalf of overstuffed and overseas powerful interests. And there won't be any golden statues for this act of betrayal, this betrayal of decent Kiwi values. Those papers reveal that the Prime Minister and his government and their actions, they reveal them for what they are. It was always about union busting. The Prime Minister and his ministers said that it was about protecting jobs for the 3,000 workers that were involved in The Hobbit. By his own admission, the international film industry now thinks New Zealand is an attractive location for movies because New Zealand has, and I quote, a flexible labour market and an educated workforce which is not heavily unionised. And the Prime Minister's own briefing papers from his trip to Hollywood in October last year show the growth in the film sector, but also it describes employment in that area as of varying tenure and sporadic duration. He has allowed for more precarious work for vulnerable workers. Changing the law has changed New Zealand into the sweatshop of the film industry. So what about those jobs, eh? The same briefing said almost everyone was a contractor with earnings that were relatively low or middle income. With this ill-advised change, the Prime Minister has added to the lack of security for a whole raft of workers. He has contributed to what Professor Guy Standing calls the precariat. These are fixed-term, casual, on-call contractors who sell their services for whatever they can get. They're unable to bargain collectively, and the employment environment is not an even playing field, so they often end up with low wages and poor conditions. Professor Standing calls this group and this sort of thing as the commodification of work and workers. So what we got from selling our labour laws was a whole bunch of casualised, low-waged work, and I guess that as well as The Hobbit being a vehicle to promote the gorgeousness of our country and hopefully attract tourists, we also got an international reputation for screwing down workers' rights. It's not the type of reputation many of us wished for. Now, I want to make it clear, and particularly to the previous speaker, that the Greens want to see a strong, vibrant film industry, but we don't think the way to achieve it is to pay poor wages and undermine workers' rights. We want to see real jobs, and we note that in the last year we lost another 17,000 jobs in manufacturing, according to Statistics New Zealand's Household Labour Force survey that was released today. And we're not seeing $100 million investment in that sector, despite the fact that these jobs were real jobs, not casual and insecure. Our Prime Minister's also been doing dodgy deals with Sky City to build an international convention centre in Auckland. And again, he says this will create jobs. But we haven't done the cost-benefit analysis of what that will mean for problem gamblers and those who deal with them and pay for that in Auckland. So contrast the cosy relationship of this government with big business, Warner's, Sky City, with ordinary workers who received a 25-cent pay increase yesterday and are still earning poverty wages. Contrast that, and you'll see that the government setting is towards the wealthy and not towards the deserving poor. Did I just say deserving poor?
Honourable Morris Williamson.
Speaker, we're coming up to around about 16 months into the second term of the current National-led government, and it's about a time and midpoint where it's